Hello and welcome to World News on TVP World. I'm your host, Marie Cato. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk has announced that Poland will close its border with Belarus late Thursday night. The decision comes amid large-scale military drills held jointly by Belarus and Russia, scheduled to begin later this week.
On Friday, joint Russian-Belarusian military exercises will begin in Belarus, very close to the Polish border. From a military standpoint, the drills can be considered highly aggressive. We are also seeing a growing number of various provocations from Russia and Belarus, both within the country and, for example, the recent arrest of a Polish Jesuit in Belarus. This bears the hallmarks of hostile provocations, and therefore, for the sake of national security, we will close the borders with Belarus, including railway crossings due to the Zapad exercises at midnight on Thursday night.
Lithuania's State Border Guard Service announced on Tuesday that following the Zapad 2025 military exercises, Lithuania will step up border security and controls with Belarus and Russia. Russia launched another attack on Ukraine targeting the settlement of Yarova in the Donetsk region. President Zelenskyy said that more than 20 people have been killed. Our Ukraine correspondent Oz Karuji brings us the latest in his report.
Russia has launched another deadly airstrike on the eastern region of Donetsk, targeting a village called Yarova, which is about 10 miles north of the city of Sloviansk. The governor, Falashkin, the governor of Donetsk, called the act an act of pure terrorism. As Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said, the strike targeted a group of people who were receiving their pension payments. Now, President Zelenskyy has released a statement following the attack. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
A brutally savage Russian airstrike with an aerial bomb on the rural settlement of Yarova in the Donetsk region, directly on people, ordinary civilians, at the very moment when pensions were being disbursed. According to preliminary information, more than 20 people were killed. There are no words. My condolences to all the families and loved ones of the victims.
So another day here in Ukraine with another deadly Russian airstrike with multiple fatalities. This is a situation that the Ukrainians are incensed with, and Zelenskyy making clear that he wants more action from Europe and from the G20 with regards to Russia. They want to see sanctions ramped up so that there is a cost towards Moscow for actions that leave so many Ukrainians dead in these terrible strikes that Russia continues to conduct against civilian targets in Ukraine. It's Oz Katerji reporting from Kyiv for TVP World.
Latvia is expelling over 800 people to Russia for failing to pass a Latvian language test. The test was made compulsory in 2022 for non-EU citizens wanting to stay in the country.
Russians are a sizable minority in Latvia, with many having lived there for decades. After regaining independence in 1991, Latvia only offered citizenship to pre-World War II citizens and their descendants. Soviet citizens settling in the country later, mostly Russians, were not eligible. Tens of thousands of ethnic Russians remained functionally stateless for years. This despite being encouraged to pass a language and history test required for citizenship and free courses provided by the state. They could still live and work in the Baltic state. After the Russian full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, the Latvian parliament passed a law requiring non-citizen residents to prove at least elementary Latvian language skills. Fewer than half of the affected Russian speakers did so by 2023, with the rest getting a 2-year grace period. The first batch of those who did not pass has now been requested to leave the country by mid-October.
Bosnian Serb leader Milorad Dodik arrived in Moscow on Tuesday, where he met with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Dodik most recently served as president of the Republika Srpska, one of the 3 political divisions of Bosnia and Herzegovina. He was removed from office in June and, following an appeal, was sentenced to a fine and a 6-year ban on holding public office as punishment for defying Bosnia's state-level institutions. With his trip to Moscow, Dodik aims to garner Russian support to help him bring down the office of the High Representative in Bosnia, an international envoy supervising the implementation of the Dayton Accords. In the mid-1990s, the Accords brought an end to the Bosnian War, which saw 100,000 people killed and some 2 million displaced. Kosovo's 2,500-strong security force is still transitioning into a regular army, with NATO still expressing caution about formally endorsing this development. The country has been in political crisis since its February elections. Prime Minister Albin Kurti is using defence as his campaign card now, pledging over €1 billion to develop the army and a joint military unit with Albania, and even drones made in Kosovo.
For our army in the 4 years, we will allocate a budget of over €1 billion. We will deepen and expand bilateral and multilateral international cooperation with NATO member states, focus on the functioning of the ammunition factory and the development of the Kosovo defense industry. We will also develop military drones made in Kosovo. We will create a joint military unit with the armed forces of the Republic of Albania. The recruitment of new troops will continue at an increased pace. We aim to have 1,000 women in the military under the new mandate.
Security guards and metal fences have been positioned outside the Royal Courts of Justice in London in front of the latest work by Banksy. The mural of a judge wielding a gavel over a protester came just 2 days after 890 people were arrested at a demonstration against a ban on the activist group Palestine Action in London.
I saw it on his Instagram post. Yeah, it had a judge with a gavel hitting a protester with a board. So the message is very obvious. He's making a point about the kind of injustice of people just protesting, innocently protesting in London, and then getting arrested just because they have some certain words written on their signs, which is kind of ridiculous. But they're not terrorists, you know. They've been arrested under terrorism laws. But they're obviously not terrorists. They're just everyday people, elderly people, disabled people. Even though it's gone, I can still perpetuate the story from my Instagram and my social media because I think that's important. He's also making a very valid point. A lot of people feel the same, and the more people who protest the government will hopefully get rid of these stupid rules and laws that are around free protesting, which this country is famous for freedom of speech, and it's ridiculous that people can't protest about.
No, I've come up from Wiltshire. I saw it on Instagram earlier, on Banksy's Instagram, so I thought I'd come up. I didn't think I'd be able to see it, and so far we haven't. So I don't think it's a wasted journey. A lot of times what's going on around a Banksy piece is just as interesting as the piece itself.
And that's all for World News at 5 p.m. Thanks so much for joining us, and stay tuned for more on TVP World. Goodbye.